right. So Urban Meyer had hired former Iowa strength coach Chris Doyle. He had been accused of racism and bullying by players before. Do you think this was a good hire for Jacksonville?
I'll talk about it first. I feel like going on to that, like on the NFL level, it's all about respect for each other. We have to have a mutual respect if I'm going to work with you. If I respect you, I'm willing to work with you. But if you coming in with these allegations, and me, especially me as a black man myself, I'm not going to work with somebody who has prejudices towards me or feels a certain way about me and still works with me, because I can't trust you in what you're going to do. There's a lot of trust that goes into a team sport. And if I can't trust you, I don't want to be around you. I can't trust you to do your job, and you probably won't trust me to do my job either way. So there's a lot of trust that's involved in those type of processes. So if I can't trust this man, why am I going to have him in the waiting room with me? If he's spotting me or stuff like that, if these allegations are true, who says that he may drop the bar and stuff like that? I'm maybe going to the extreme, but it's all about trusting the person you're working with and respecting that person as well. And there is no respect in racism. So if the allegations are true, then it's definitely a terrible hire. But he was fired, or he quit and resigned. So I'm guessing the things were true. But like I said, it's all about respect and trust on these levels. And if we can't work together or trust each other, respect each other, it's not going to work out. It's not going to be a successful program.
Well, I can bring in my experience as a JV football player. And I will just say that, I agree 100% with Savon. At the University of Maryland, there have been issues, in terms of the coaches and in terms of some of the things that have been done. I'm not going to go into it. You can Google it. But I really believe that it's important, particularly on the, as Savon stated, on the NFL level. You got grown men here, and they're not going to tolerate the same things that, some Pro Bowl guy, some all-pro guy is not going to tolerate the same kinds of things that a college kid will tolerate. And I think it would have been hard for them to coach. I think Urban Meyer was in for a rude awakening coming into the NFL, realizing that he was not, the alpha male. Even though you're the coach, even though you can cut people, you ain't gonna cut no all pro. You gotta go by the GM and go by you. There's a whole lot of other decision makers, and you're not Jimmy Johnson. They don't care. What was it? I forgot the old coach used to say, Jerry Glanville used to say, the NFL stands for not for long. You know what I mean? And all that stuff about, what you did in college, that means nothing in the NFL. As a player and also as a coach, you have to come in and prove yourself. Urban Meyer has not proved anything on this level. And so him coming in a league that's somewhere between 60 and 70% Black, and choosing somebody and saying, I didn't consult with any of the players. I didn't consult with anybody. And it also puts a highlight on the organization and says that they're a little tone deaf when we're in a period in the NFL, post Colin Kaepernick, post Black Lives Matter. We're talking about the NFL is trying to improve its image. And then somebody like him is getting hired at an organization that's trying to rebuild and gain that kind of trust, and they want to get those big time free agents. I think that it would have been a really bad look to keep that guy on the staff. It was a really tone deaf and bad look to bring him on. And you got to understand, right across the state, you have the NFL champions. And how did BA do it? BA did it by gaining the trust of Black players, by having them underneath Black assistant coaches, by having a Black offensive coordinator, which is so rare in this league and in the history of this league. It's starting to grow now because you had two of them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
One of them from Washington, D.C.
One of them from Washington, D.C. You know what I'm saying? Most def. Shout out to B Left. You know what I'm saying? So definitely, I think that having Urban Meyer come in, and I'm sure his coaching staff is going to be overwhelmingly a bunch of white college guys. And then he brings in somebody who a bunch of college kids said, this guy was a bully. And he ain't going to bully. Can you imagine him coming in and bullying even Savon? Bullying Jermaine? That's not going to happen. They're not going to take that. You know what I mean? Him coming in and bullying Ndamukong Suh or somebody like that, you know, he going to get stomped on like Ndamukong Suh, you know, does quarterbacks. So, you know, I really think that, you know, it was a bad, very bad decision. I think that Urban Meyer, if he's smart, he starts bringing in some black assistant coaches and coordinators and shows that he is committed to an inclusive environment to make the coach, the players more comfortable and make the community more comfortable out there in Duval. So I think that, you know, this was a bad look for Jacksonville.
I think overall it's a bigger issue, like even like head coaches. I think it's just like something like the Rooney Rule. It's like is it really a rule? Like are we really even doing anything? Like what's the process for hiring people for these assistant jobs, you know, because you just going out hiring whoever you want, you know, regardless of their background or whatever they've been through, you know. So I think this is just, like I said, I think it's a bigger issue, not even just in Jacksonville, you know. So obviously you got, like you said, two black coaches, which is coordinators for the Super Bowl. And the year before, Eric Bieniemy, he was an offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, you know. And I think that's obviously it's a bigger issue, not just at the head, not just at the top, you know. It goes through the whole coaching staff, through the whole organization from top to bottom.
Okay, so who will have a better season in 2021? Trevor Lawrence or Joe Burrow?
Go ahead, pop it off, Jason. Go ahead, man.
He's ready.
You know what you think.
You know, I like Joe Burrow. It looked like he was having a really good season up there in Cincinnati. We know Cincinnati is one of those teams that's kind of been a perennial like bottom feeder in the NFL. And he came along and was looking like he was having a good season. He has that swagger. He has that confidence that's so important to having your quarterback that's going to like boost the rest of the team. Seems to have the leadership skills that would, you know, translate to being a winning quarterback in the NFL. But I really think Trevor Lawrence is like one of those really rare talents. And dude is 6'6". He can run, which is something that's, you know, people
about 230.
Yeah, he's like 6'6". No, he's 6'6", 218 is what I've read. I don't know, he might be bigger now, but he's 6'6", 218. And this actually leads into another debate we got to have. I put it on social media and people went crazy. I said, if Michael Jordan had played football, he would have been a Hall of Fame quarterback.
No.
Or like, no, he'd have been a wide receiver. I was like, can you imagine, you know, Jeff Garcia getting in a huddle and yelling at Michael Jordan? You think Michael Jordan's taking orders from anybody else in the huddle? No way. Michael Jordan is the leader. He would have been a quarterback. And by the way, I've seen him throw a football. You know, he threw a football to Ahmad Rashad. I know I'm getting way off topic. Threw a football to Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad Rashad, who was an NFL first-round draft pick, couldn't catch it because there was too much heat on it. So
you know who your GOAT is.
Man, that's all fine and dandy until them live bullets start flying.
That's what I'm saying, man.
He ain't had nobody come and try to sack him yet.
Yeah, hey, look, bro. I'm saying if he had played the game, you know,
his mindset. I see you giving his mindset, that quarterback mindset. I feel it. But I feel like his mindset is more of a DB mindset. If you talk about mindsets, like those cocky, swaggy guys, like if you thinking about those, you got to give him a DB spot. I feel like he may be able to be successful at DB safety, but you talking about literally the hardest position. Granted, quarterback and QB is two of the hardest positions on the field. You talking about the hardest position on the field in quarterback, where you take responsibility for the team, for the players, for the L's, the wins. Everything is always your fault.
And you think Michael Jordan isn't up to that challenge?
He's going to be a DB.
No, football and basketball ain't the same. It ain't the same. I
don't know, bro.
He can carry the team.
That's why I know I'll snatch y'all.
Look, you have to forgive Jason since he didn't play either one, really. So
you're not snatching main angles, though. I got a bag on Jermaine against you.
All right, all right. Let's see what's up. Hey, look, don't have the Panthers calling me like, how dare you injure our linebacker. You know what I mean? Don't have that. Don't put his career on me. You know what I mean?
That ain't happening.
I don't want him
we know who
to have
the
highlights.
best basketball player on the call right now, but we're not talking about basketball
Right.
now.
We're talking about Joe Burrow,
Trevor Lawrence, and
Trevor
Joe
Lawrence,
Burrow.
and Trevor Lawrence.
But
Trevor Lawrence,
you
like I
believe
said,
Trevor Lawrence, though?
let me just finish up this statement. Trevor Lawrence is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. I think Trevor Lawrence is maybe not once in a lifetime, but he is a rare talent. Just his size and speed. And I think he's somebody who people do not give enough credit for the fact that he can actually run the ball. He's a big target, but so is Cam Newton. And he's Cam Newton with a whole lot more touch. He doesn't have the power that Cam Newton has, but certainly he can throw the ball, he can run the ball. I think that when we're looking at careers or even the next year, even though Joe Burrow, we would like to say that he had a year in the NFL, but he didn't. He had a half a year in the NFL. So and it was a COVID year. Let's be for real. It was a different kind of a year. So I don't think his experience really adds up to as much as it would have had he been able to play for a full year. So you basically have two rookie quarterbacks coming in, and if you're asking me who has more potential to come in and do well, both of those teams are not necessarily great unless they do something in the offseason. So I'm going to say that Trevor Lawrence is the guy that's going to actually do better.
What do you think, man? Go ahead. Let me know something.
It's a tough one because, like I said, you can't crown nobody until they in the league yet.
It's a whole different game, bro. It's a whole different game.
Because I didn't see so many people like just come and it's just like this is like a deer in headlights. I'm not saying that's gonna happen to Trevor Lawrence because obviously, like you said, he's a generational talent. He has a great arm. He can make all the throws, obviously. But in my opinion, I don't know if he's the best quarterback in the draft. I feel like I like Justin Fields, and when those two were head to head, Justin Fields outplayed him, and it showed. And I don't know why people just crowning Trevor Lawrence as the best quarterback, but Justin Fields made the same throws, if not better, in that game. He was making posts against cover 4. He was everything you needed. Justin Fields had. And he can run the ball as well. But back to your question, though, I'm getting off topic because I think Justin Fields is good. I think Justin Fields is a great player. And I hate Ohio State because we had to play against them, obviously, but I think he's a great player. But I don't know. But I think Joe Burrow, he didn't get a full season of experience, but I think the little bit that he did is going to pay off. And I think the game that he got hurt against Washington, I think it was like a good game, a close game, and he was they were trying to tie the game or take the lead at the end of the game. He was driving and he ended up getting hurt. So I think little things like that, just the 6 or 7 games that he did play is gonna make a big difference. Down the line, Trevor Lawrence may be the better prospect, but I think early on, Joe Burrow right now.
I definitely can agree with that. Just like Jermaine said, it's a whole different game on the next level. Like every level, it literally speeds up. You go from high school to college, but to the NFL, you dealing with everybody who's you dealing with men trying to feed their families. And how we see it is you trying to take food off my plate. So you got to understand, when he step into that range, if he's not behind the same O-line as Clemson, you can't guarantee that.
Right.
You got to realize, them in college, O-linemen stay for all 4 years. NFL, O-line could be gone next year. Or the O-line could change. Like, it's just so much things that can happen over the years. Like, you even look at Dwayne Haskins. I'm going to get off top a little bit. You look at Dwayne Haskins. He had one of the best O-lines in college football. When he got to the Redskins, what did he have? A hurt and changing offensive line every week. And he didn't have the same time to make the throws. So if Trevor Lawrence comes to the league and goes to the same problem, anything can happen. But for Joe Burrow, it's all about how he comes back from his injury.
Yeah.
If he comes back. What you about to say?
No, I was going to say, I definitely know that Ohio State had some really powerful offensive lines because I saw them blow y'all off the ball. Like,
First of all, I had my best games versus Ohio State. Don't play me.
But seriously, you know, and a lot of those guys who blew y'all off the ball aren't in the league, so you know, or didn't make it as far as you guys did. But I'll just say, you know, I agree with that, and I'm willing to get in a little bit on the, you know, the discussion about the draft, you know, since we have a little extra time. I think there is a difference between a college quarterback and an NFL quarterback, and that's my fear about Justin Fields. You know what I'm saying? What kind of quarterback he will be in the NFL. He looked great in college.
Let me tell you real quick, because I feel like you giving that same stigma they give every black quarterback that comes out that can run the ball. And look, you didn't even catch yourself doing it though. You definitely just did it.
But it's not even about him running the ball.
But you can't discredit the fact that he's a great
I said Trevor Lawrence runs the ball.
Trevor Lawrence, he ran. Everybody think he run the ball because he broke that big run last year in the championship. He's not out there making people miss every play like Justin Fields is. Justin Fields is running downfield, putting his knees on display every game, making these quick jump cuts all the time. Then he's in the pocket with a great pocket presence, getting out of way. It's you kind of just got me with that because you did the same thing that every black quarterback deals with coming into the NFL. Maybe he should change positions. Maybe he's a runner.
I didn't say that. Hold on.
But I felt like you was leaning towards that way. Maybe I jumped to conclusions, but I'm going to defend these because you got to give a guy a chance to be a quarterback first. Be that guy because he can transfer over to the league and be the best quarterback that's been in recent years.
Very possible. I'm not saying that. I'm you know, and part of it, I will say, for me is definitely not a race thing. I mean, how many times have I argued for black quarterbacks? I still think Tyrod Taylor should start in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do not argue for black quarterback. How long did we spend on how I think Cam Newton should still start in the NFL? All I'm saying is that with Justin Fields, and part of it is probably a little bit of an Ohio State bias, anti-Ohio State bias, because we've seen quarterbacks out of Ohio State and none of them really stick in the league.
That is true.
We
the last 5 great Ohio State quarterbacks have been stuck.
Yeah, exactly. You know, even guys.
Cardell, even he was up in Pittsburgh with me. What's the guy we played against? Number 16. JT Barrett, like, and he was great in college. I feel you, but you got to really.
So my thing is,
all is ball. Period.
I feel like Ohio State sometimes they get guys who are great college quarterbacks, and it doesn't translate to the NFL. And the same thing, honestly, when we look at Georgia. Georgia's had some really great college quarterbacks who haven't panned out in the NFL. And then you look at Jake Fromm, for example, who took the spot from Jacob Eason. Who's going to be a better NFL quarterback? Jacob Eason is going to be a far better NFL quarterback than Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm was a more successful college quarterback. I think.
But one thing I'm going to say about that too, NFL is about finding your fit as well. Some teams try to make you fit their mode, but it doesn't work. Like, you're just not that type of player. You got to find the right fit for you to be successful. Some guys find that years down the line. Like, example is a guy, Nick Williams. He was in the league for 6 years. I played in my rookie year in Chicago. He was on all these different teams. But his 7th year in the league, when he broke out and got that good contract, because he had a 7-sack season as a D tackle, it just takes time to find that right fit sometimes. You got to be able to stay down and be able to battle through those moments where you may be in the wrong situation, but you got to stay positive and fight through. But like I said, mental toughness in the quarterback position. We talk about Carson Wentz. You got to be mentally tough to bounce back through anything. As a football player, period, mental toughness is the biggest thing before physical toughness, because your mind will die down before the body. Well, the body will die down before the mind. So if you can withstand being in the wrong spot for a certain time, and then you can fall into the right situation. Like Dwayne can go to Pittsburgh and be one of the best quarterbacks ever. You never know. But it's all about finding your right fit sometimes. So I had to say that right there too.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see with Dwayne. I mean, the thing about Dwayne, it just seemed like, you know, he had some issues in terms of decision making off the field than on it. But I think him, again, being under a black coach, who I think will probably take him under his wing and give him a little more of that kind of guidance that he needed that he wasn't going to get from Ron Rivera, I think is actually something that we could actually see something positive out of Dwayne Haskins. And for Pittsburgh, to me, that is like all positive, no real negatives to taking Dwayne Haskins, still on a rookie deal, doesn't cost you a whole lot of money, crazy upside, very similar to Big Ben, can learn under Big Ben, and maybe be the guy who takes over for him. If he doesn't, you get rid of him. You know what I mean? And you really don't lose anything. You take some other young kid out of the draft. So we'll definitely see, how that pans out. But as far as Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, I just see Trevor Lawrence being that guy. And Justin Fields, I'm not saying that he's not that guy. I put him in the category, for me, I put him slightly above all these other quarterbacks, Trey Lance, Jacob Eason. Who else is in this draft? There's another guy who they're touting as being some sort
Zach
of
Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson.
He nice.
All of those, I feel like it's Trevor Lawrence, and then you got,
the other guys, huh?
Yeah, no.
What makes Trevor Lawrence number one though?
In your eyes.
So a couple of things. There's a couple of things. Number one, and I know y'all are going to dispute this because of this past season. Number one, Trevor Lawrence comes in. He's a winner. You know what I mean? There's no question about that.
He lost like 3 games in his life.
Yeah,
since high school.
Yeah, something crazy like that. But then again, Ryan Leaf, I think, won at every level till he got to the NFL. You know what I mean? So that's not necessarily something you can gauge. Seems like he has his head in the right place. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, he supported Black Lives Matter. He's somebody who I think a lot of his teammates respect. I'm not saying that that's not the case for Justin Fields. I'm just saying these are the things that I think make him somebody that I think is going to be a very good quarterback at the next level. When you look at the intangibles, I think again they're 1 and 2. Some people are going to put Justin Fields as number 1. Some people are going to put Trevor Lawrence as number 1. But again, my thing is honestly, and maybe it's not as rational as it seems in my head, but it's Ohio State quarterbacks and Georgia quarterbacks. They don't pan out. You know what I'm saying? They're in the league for 3-4 years if they're lucky, and then they implode. And so, I don't. Maybe Justin Fields can break that mold, but until then, you got these guys who've been taken. The guys at Georgia, they I watched something that said a couple of them, were record-breaking quarterbacks. Everybody was breaking somebody else's record. And most of those guys either never made it or out of the league in 1 or 2 years. Jake Fromm will be out of the league next year, probably. So to me, I got to see what it is that they recruit on. And I think they're probably recruiting on guys who are good college quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence was somebody that people saw, even when he was in Elite 11, people saw and were like, this guy. And by the way, those two were battling it out in the Elite 11. People saw and were like, this guy is a special generational talent. You listen to Todd McShay, he says that, his pro day was phenomenal. But then again, Todd McShay, best pro day ever, Jamarcus Russell. So you can't always trust that. And again, that was Jamarcus Russell's off the field issues and his head, not as a playing ability. I'll argue Jamarcus Russell could have been one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play NFL football if he had his head right. But we'll see. We'll see what actually happens. All right, that's it for us here on the Sports Place. If you like what you saw, or if you want to argue with any one of us or argue on behalf of any one of us, please put a comment below, press like, subscribe. We want to thank Jermaine Carter for joining us and wish him the best of luck
How's that
in
feel?
the upcoming NFL season. And, we wish for Savon to, I don't know, get himself together, learn something about football, and then maybe he can actually win an argument against me. Thank you so much. That's it for us here on the Sports Place.